Hello, everybody, for this space about mother graduation. And I welcome all of you women here in that space that it's here now and also the recording. So watching after. I am Gabriela Fagundes, and I had the seed to create that space a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. And it was from my own process with my mother. It's a journey of growing up and how the relation of mother and daughter it's transformed also in the relationship of two women, and how it is this growing up process and what happens in between, and the emotions and the process and the new agreements and the new way of relating. So I am in this big liquid state about this starting over with my mother. And I started to read the website of Mother Graduation. It's an initiation where mothers get graduated from their job. This the way Nicole described it to the title of the work talk is the most demanding school of the universe, motherhood. And I invited Nicole. We had a call, and I had this impulse to invite Nicole to hold space with me to that talk, to that space, with the purpose to navigate what is it mother graduation, and also to talk a little bit of motherhood. And Nicole Hartley Bradford experienced that mother graduation process by herself. And I get really touched when I was watching the ceremony. So there is a video published of her ceremony, and I get really touched because I could see a new phase of her life starting there in that recording. And then I get to know her I think 1 year after, right, in Czech Republic. So it was really interesting to see that the new beginning that started from that graduation. And I'm curious and feel joy to start that space, and also to invite you on board. I've been in connection with you, Katarina, and with you, Celia, mainly about that topic, because you are exactly in the process of your son, Katarina, I know, and your daughter, Celia, is starting to travel and getting out of the house, and you are in this liquid state process, and I'm really glad you decided to be here. And Sophia decided to join also today the boat. Welcome all of you, and I pass to you, Nicole, to you present yourself and speak a little bit about that space.
Yeah, thank you. Every mother's experience as a mother is so different, and yet there are these things that are similar. And the way my motherhood went, I was already an edge worker when I started to be a mother. And I had some initiations. Just becoming a mother is a Gaian initiation, I think. It's not so much it's unconsciously or consciously chosen, and it happens, and there's so much to just growing in a child in your womb, and giving birth to the child is such an initiation. It's a 5-body initiation, even if you don't know you have 5 bodies. And for me, this was, thank goodness, thank Gaia, because I had not been initiated into authentic adult in other ways. And so my mothering went how it went. I have 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. They have 3 different fathers. So I was raising children on the edge of modern culture, and for 11 years while I was married to the father of my daughters, I came more into modern culture because I was exhausted. I was completely exhausted from raising my two sons on the edge of patriarchy in really what's called in poverty and without a village, without much of a village at all. And when at the age of 50 years old, when my eldest son was already something like 28, 29 years old, this is when I discovered that a mother graduation was something I could do. And it lit me up because I'd already thought to myself, motherhood is my school. Motherhood was my post secondary education. I went to motherhood instead of going to university. And I thought, in these decades, I earned the equivalent of a degree and maybe a master's degree, and maybe even by now a PhD in motherhood. Because my eldest son, he became an addict. He started using drugs and he disappeared and he tried to kill himself, and now he's blind. And and I claim since my mother graduation, this all happened since my mother graduation, I claim that I'm doing my PhD in motherhood. I will graduate, I will celebrate again, probably in the next 5 years. Because motherhood, even though I graduated, I continued to receive this education from being a woman who's orienting to archiarchy, to this next culture where the village is alive, where mothers don't raise children in these isolated nuclear families while they're trying to make money and trying to get the kids to school on time, and the families being torn apart because patriarchy. And as I prepared for my mother graduation, I was growing up finally. I was finally growing parts of myself up that were also part of how it went for me as a mother and how it went for my children and my partners, because I was still really a child raising children in so many ways. And when Gabriella invited me to do this work talk with her, I was such a huge yes, because what is still alive in me and still working in me from doing the initiations that led up to the mother graduation, where really this celebration happened, where I said, I have been educated by the universe through motherhood in extraordinary ways. I have such value to bring to the world. Because really holding space for children to be born and to be nourished and to learn and grow is holding space for life. And there's always the possibility of death, of harm, and there's this constant starting over that happens. And I'm so glad to be talking about it with you, and to have it being recorded, so talking about it with even more people, and just what's become possible from owning my education as a mother as priceless, as so valuable. It grew me in so many ways, and most of all, it grew me this incredible capacity to feel the pain, the anger, the sadness, the fear of raising children without a village, without Arkan sisters, without archetypal men, and still this joy, so much joy to be looking at watching the exquisiteness of humanity in these babies, in the birthing process, in nursing, in just the deliciousness of human life emerging, and the wonder and the awe of really seeing that each one of these children was already so whole, so present, so something. And I got to watch that emerge. And yes, I got to watch them build their boxes and their gremlins, and you know, and I got to experience the pain of my inadequacy as a mother. And now this pain, all of this emotional sadness, fear, the uncelebrated joy, and the anger are fuel for me to do this new job that I have from Gaia. And it is exactly the job I trained for by birthing, raising children, and experiencing the war that happens between a man and a woman who are trying to be lone wolves, supposedly on the same team, but both wanting the other to be the parent that we never had. And I want to coach women who are creating their mother graduation so that they can really make the most of this preparation time. When I first read the mother graduation website, I thought, oh, I'm going to do this as soon as possible, have this celebration. And then I read it again and I thought, oh, I really want to really tell my story. I really want to lay it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm telling my story as so much as a victim story. How about being able to tell it as a legend? And I practiced and practiced. And I came up with so many emotional healing process doorways. I was like, well, I want to do this. I want to do the processes so that I can really celebrate, really graduate. So it took something like 2 years of preparation. I set the date many times and then changed my mind because I really wanted to keep doing the preparation for mother graduation so that I could really celebrate. And the day of my mother graduation celebration, the next day, I set out again on my nomadic adventure to do the job that I had already started, but it was like, it's like, I don't know if you've ever had a time where you had a job, but then you were going to have a new job. You were kind of still doing your old job and not really fully doing your new job. And it was like, and then they were competing for your attention. It was like the jobs, you weren't doing either of them really, because you were only doing a little bit of all of them. It was a bit like that for me, especially during those 2 years. I would go back to trying to mother my children, and then I'd go away to do this new job for Gaia. Yeah, and it was so valuable. I want other mothers to have the gold to empower their own mother graduations. So thank you, Gabriella. Thank you for inviting me and creating this space.
Thank you for your yes for it.
Yeah, and I would love to hear a bit more about all four of you, really, about like Gabriella, you already said a little bit about like you are coming as a daughter of a mother, and yeah, what makes mother graduation something you would put put time and effort and energy, precious time into to create. And each of you, Sophia and Katerina and Celia, it's like I love to hear what's burning in you about this, that you would give your time to this space.
I I have I have two sons. One with 21 years, the other 17. You don't hear me. Do you listen
Not
better
so
now?
well. Is there a way to turn it up?
I can hear
I
you, but
don't know.
a little bit não tão alto.
Não me ouvi muito alto.
Agora está pouco melhor.
Não sei porquê. Bom, vou falar mais alto.
Estar mais próxima.
Better.
Mais próxima.
Yeah, and more, you can try more louder. Use more your belly muscle.
Okay. Okay. So I have two sons, and one is 21, and he's moving out. The other is 17. He's still studying in high school. And I always wanted to raise them to be independent. And the older one, he is, and it's great, he is really an independent person. He thinks by himself. He listens to what I tell him, but then he decides for himself. And I feel so much fear. I feel so much fear of him leaving and leaving me. I feel so much fear of losing his love. I know it's emotional fear, but I feel it. And I feel sadness of losing him, of him not being so close. And I also see the other one following in his footsteps, really becoming independent and independent thinking and not needing me so much. And they don't need me anymore. They could survive by themselves. And at the same moment, I feel joy for that, but I feel so much fear and sadness. And that's why I'm here. I want to graduate. I want to, yeah, I always felt this. I felt this since they were born, that I wanted to raise them to be independent, not to be attached to me when they would be adults. And so I want this to happen, but I'm very frightened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you.
I can share. I'm here a little bit by chance because I'm so lucky to have here Gabriela with me at my home. But we have been talking a lot about being a mother. It's a challenge for me. My kids are 13 and 14. And it's a boy and a girl. And the process now inside me, I recently divorced. So there is this process in me of integrating my male and female parts. And this is happening also in the house with the three of us. So I think it's not by chance, it's like an evolutionary moment for me and probably for them too. And it has always been in my heart, like to give them wings as much as I could, like to hold space for them to unfold their beings. It has always been in my heart, and when I was mom for the first time, it was like total rebirth. for me. It's like new life. And now there are different moments in their lives, like when they start to discover what is this difference between me and you, and this space when they are very little, and then all the growing and the school and so many processes and so much growth and opportunities. And yes, at the same time I feel anger because I've been for a long time in patriarchy, with this struggling with career and being a mother, and I feel anger that also I want them to have the things that are supposed to, like school, or I was not radically offering this freedom. This somehow gives me some hunger. So now I am in this exercise of holding space for them to find their own impulses from their being. And this is where I am. I feel joy to be here and to have this call now. That was actually by chance, but to have this call to be here now, and it's like stopping this moment in time so that I can be more conscious about being a mom. So thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Well, thank you, Sophie. Well, I have one daughter, 24 years old, and one son, 26 years old. As Gabriela mentioned, my daughter just finished the university and start traveling. And she had planned to stay 2 years out of home, but now she decided to come back. And my son will leave home on March next year. He also is finishing the university at the end of this year, and he will travel for 1 year, working out of my city, out of São Paulo, in the same country, but far from me. But the main thing that is happening with me is the question, what do you do now?
Feeling is welcome here.
Mm-hmm. The main point is, okay, I finished my work as mother. That's clear. I'm not on mother mood, on mother job. It's clear for me, and I'm really okay with this. They are independent, and they will live their lives. But what do you do now? I have been working as a mother for 26 years. And now I don't have other things to do. I have to learn what I do. I spend all time working. I have my profession, okay? I changed my profession 3 years ago, and now I'm working in psychology, but I am afraid of what I will do. I have to learn new things and how to manage this. I have been saying to all mothers that I see with young children, I say, please take care of your life. Don't focus just on the child. Continue focus on your life. Continue increasing your being with your friends, going to, I don't know, cinema, theater, doing things alone, doing things just for you, not for the others. Because the children, the son, they will depart. They will take care of their lives. and and you have to look to yourself again and say, well, and now what do you do? This task ends, and that's okay. It's really okay for me. It ends. The main point is, what do you do now? I forgot me during the process, during 26 years old, and I have
Yeah.
to learn again. I have to
Yeah.
learn. I have to recreate my life,
Yeah.
remake the connection with myself. And that's I don't have any problem to have been doing this for 26 years. It's really good. I love it. I can help two 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 people, two creators, a boy and a man, to become two adults. And they are learning how to walk on in the world. And they can do this because I was able to give them tools to do this. And perfect. But now I have to look to myself again and say, well, what do I do now? I don't want to be more mother. It's that time to depart. I'm graduated. I'm okay. Not PhD. I think that there's another certainly more steps, but I have to look to myself again.
Mm.
And this is the most the biggest, I don't know how to say in English, Gabriela, help me, desafio that I have now.
Challenge that I have.
A challenge, thank you. Yes.
Mhm.
He looks to this again.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Celia. Thank you for feeling about it. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you started to feel, I just was like, yes, this is it. This is so the where the gold is. You know, and I heard you say, you know, what are you going to do? And can you say more about what the feeling was that you were feeling when before you said that?
It's like you end a book, you read the last page, and then you start a new one, but it's clean. What do you do? You don't
Yeah.
know, and there's a fear. What uh, may I am I able to start something now? And then have the judgment,
Yeah.
the fear of judgment. Okay, but am I so good? Well, how can I do this? I don't remember more. I
Yeah.
forget it. It's
Yeah.
like I want to learn how to ride a bicycle, but uh, may I? It's secure because I'm older than when I
Yeah.
was 7 and start riding a bicycle and hurt me, and that's okay. Now I have to learn how to ride a bicycle. Even imagine that never had a bicycle before, but if I had a bicycle there and I can hurt me and can break a bone, and I am 61 years old. If you break a bone now,
Yeah.
I will be okay.
This is so it. It's so rich. This, you know, there's all these fears. Like, who am I? Because I've been so focused on raising children, I don't even know who I am. Does anyone else have that? Yeah. Yeah. Then there's also, by the time the children leave, you're, you know, 50, 60 years old. So like that's old to start life over. Or is it? I mean, and there's fear. There's fear, there's sadness, missing them, missing these precious beings you've just got to see every day for the last many, many years. And they just leave. They leave. And you know, sometimes depending on the child, they they leave and it's clear they love you. Sometimes they leave and it's not so clear that they even remember you. This is heartbreaking. And then there's, you know, with in a marriage, there's like, who are you? And even if the marriage is ended, like it had for me, like, how do I relate with this guy now? Like, so many questions, so many questions. And our culture, modern culture, just what is there for it? Oh, everything's okay. You did great. That's so insufficient. And this is so how modern culture is, this lack of initiations. And so I think this is the other thing that happens when children leave home and the mothers have all these questions without, even with so many other initiations overdue. And I'm saying, this is your chance. And for you, Katerina, for your younger of your kids, and for you, Sophia, with younger kids, it's, a little bit what Celia said, that you can already start. Because one of the first things about the graduation is like, it's over. Your chance is over. By the time your child is probably 10, 11, 12 years old, maybe, like, they're how they are. There's still more to learn while they're in their early teenage years, and then as teenagers and younger adults, but really you lost your chance. that they've already learned from you how to be human, whether it's working, whether it's not working, and it's usually some kind of mixture. So there's these openings to become really honest, because you have time, you have new perspective, you have all this experience. And this was one of the things that I thought it was easy for me to feel my anger about how it had gone for me as a mother. I was so scared to feel anger about anything that had to do with motherhood, because I thought that meant that I was saying that something was wrong about me as a mother, or as about my children. And this was not it. This was not it. I was such a good mom. And this was a big part of what got deconstructed for me during the initiation processes, the adult, authentic initiation processes that I started catching up on late in my life. I had to get really honest about how angry I was about how parenting, how mothering goes in modern culture. I had to become really, it was like, if I didn't get really honest and I kept saying, it was hard at times, but we got through, and it's all great. Look at these great pictures I have. They're beautiful, they're great. And this is where I thank my eldest son for becoming a homeless drug addict, because he made it unavoidable for me to say, modern culture sucks. Modern culture does not empower mothers, does not empower village, does not empower a child to be free to grow and learn according to the impulses of their being. School shuts it down. All the rules, the manners, the sleep at this time and not at this time, and eat like this and not like that. There's so much makes it so these beings are just in these tight prisons. And if you do a good job as a modern culture mother, you've probably cut your children down to size so that they will be successful in modern culture. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad. I am saying that there are consequences to that. And the consequences are something that you get to face, not as punishment, not as victim story, not as like a big problem, but it's something where you can take the experiences that you had and be really real about how you feel about them and use that fuel to create a new chapter, a new life, even. Certainly a new job. And I feel joy, Celia, to hear you already. You're doing these, like, you're already holding space for people to probably heal, to probably come more alive. And when you, through your mother graduation, also have healing happening and becoming ever more alive happening, unfolding your being, then you get to be even more having life come through you, even more creating consequences of other people growing up and being able to take more responsibility. And my love of what possibility management brings, what conscious feelings work brings, what rage work and fear work, all of this brings this opening these possibilities to grow up even more and to take more and more radical responsibility so that I can create the world that I wish I had had when I was a mother. And I can create a world where my 4 children and all of your children and all of the children that you can think of that you love have a chance at a brighter future. Because right now, I don't know how much attention you've paid, but the future of humanity here on this beautiful planet is not looking great. And if this is what your children inherit from you, sometimes I hear myself say that why I do this work is so that when I die, I can look at my children and they say, Mom, thank you. Thank you for devoting your life to creating another kind of culture for humanity where we're not killing ourselves and each other and killing off species and killing off life on this beautiful planet. Thank you. Because I don't know what I would do if I was busy in modern culture and my children came to me and said, how can you do what you're doing? Don't you see? Don't you get it? I want to be there beside those parents who have their children come to them and say, how can you have raised me the way you raised me? How can you be doing what you're doing? Because it creates the consequence of species dying every day, of toxic places where life can't happen. And it has the consequence of war. And there are wars starting lately that my children are hearing about. And I don't know, I don't think I equipped them to be able to take a stand for collaboration happening instead of war. And I hope that I get more chances to be with them and be able to, or to have them go places where they find for themselves more tools, where they grow their capacity, where they really grow up in the ways that I didn't hold space for.
Sorry. I notice I'm feeling sadness. I'm I'm feeling sad because while hearing you, Nicole, speaking, and also all of you three about about your motherhood, I feel sad about how got to be a mother in modern culture, and what I feel sad about what does it take to a mother to be in modern culture and and kill parts of herself to stand in that place and to be a mother. And you asked me in the beginning, like, to tell more what it brought me, or what did it ignite me to invite you and to hold space for it. And part of it is the sadness of what does it woman had to kill to be a mother in modern culture, and to witnessing my mother and the mothers of my friends killing themselves and parts in themselves to be a mother in modern culture and to fit in all the requisites of how to raise good children that fit in the system. And like how and the anger about how the models, or like, we don't have, I feel anger that we don't have any model of motherhood that is not modern culture, that is not this thing that we learn from our parents, and our parents learn from our parents and from our parents, and that we don't have any space to upgrade the way of being mother. And I feel anger that this doesn't exist on earth. And 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 that and the mother graduation was somehow, when I read the website, when I started to research about that, and then Echo started to send more mothers to work with me somehow in the Rage Club and the Fierce Club. And I started to ask, okay, there is not a space to learn to be mothers, and also there's no space to mothers that already did their work to start over. To find that place you were saying, Celia, of, okay, I did the job, and now. And I remember the first time I invited my mother to read this website, I sent to her, I had a beautiful conversation about being growing up. I am 21 now, but I left their house when I was 14. And it was like this process where I was living in a residential school, so I visited them for a while, and then I really left their house when I was 18. And I was listening to music with her that is called Monsters from Jane Blunt. And it speak about that growing up process of from being mother daughter to being two women relating together. And doesn't mean that the relationship mother and daughter dies, but it's a new territory that it's possible to unfold it. And we started to talk about that. And she read the website and she got so angry. She got so angry, and she come to me after reading the website, and I was in her home back then. And she said, how you dare to say me to graduate from the job that is the unique job I could do better in my life? How do you dare to kill that? That is the thing that I most cared and that I most care about in my life. How do you dare to say to me to graduate from it? I can't. I don't have anything else. And this was the first phase of the process, this rage, this, like, you can't tell me that. And after 6 or 8 months, I was visiting her again, and we had another conversation while walking the park. And she brought this topic, and we had a second space of talking about that. And then she was feeling fear. And she shared all her fears with me, even that she didn't name as fear. She don't have the possibility management background, but she was sharing her feelings with another words, and I was listening to her. And now that I'm I definitely left her house, and I'm doing an experiment of not communicating with them for 3 months. It is part of my healing and my growing up process. And now she's accessing a lot of sadness and grieving of this distance, of this cut. And it's all these feelings and process, and I don't know where this will guide or what this will bring, but this is opening me the connection with my archetypal lineage about how do I care about children initiation and spaces to parents to learn to be parents, to upgrade the way they hold space for children. Because otherwise these boys and these girls will just go to the same track, and we don't have time to have more patriarchal people in the world. We don't have any more time. And I was really shocked in the women's lab when I accessed this deep grieving and sadness about children not having a fertile soil to grow up nowadays. And so I'm taking a stand step by step for it. And my small step now was to create that space and start to questioning, like, how it is to use the source of these wounds and all this pain we as women we have, and you as mother, you are a woman, and you have another embodiment of Gaia besides being woman. You are mother, and you have all this. I'm not have this experience yet. I'm a daughter. I have the experience of being a daughter, and you have the experience of being mother, being daughter, and being mother. And with all this experience and all this pain and all the wounds and all the hatred, really, what Nicole was saying, I see that so valuable of accessing the hatred of all the ways that you didn't want to be a mother, all the ways you wanted to be different, because this is a field to create something different to the women around you. These wounds and these feelings and these wounds, these emotions is the feel to you to be with your clients or the people that you hold space for, whatever it is the specialty you are, to create something different. And a part of me also wish that my mother would be here, because when I think about a mother taking her space for me as a daughter, when I think about my mother, I feel so much sadness about realizing that everything she had was being a mother. And I can see the seeds that she carried inside of her, as I can see in you, Sadia, and in you, Katarina, and you, Sophia, and you, Nicole. And I see that seeds, and these seeds, as you and as in my mother, it's there. And I feel sad when I hear her saying, "This is all I get," and I'm going through process of the expectations that I have that should not be like that, and my own process about that, because I wanted she had her seeds unfolding, and also there is this joy of the space that is created when I choose to take care of my life and how these affect also her. And then we are all interconnected, and our actions reflect in the outside also. We create things all the time. And I'm totally liquid just by listening to you, and with my own experience in the last months of going through this process with my mother. And yeah, that's it me for now.
Thank you, Gabriela.
And I will take a paper.
I sense that one of the difficulties of graduating is this fear of not having done a good job as a mother, and that my sons still need me to, also because I just came into this world of possibility management in December last year. So I raised them in a completely different culture that I felt, yes, it was not right for me, the culture we lived in, modern culture. So I always tried to give them space to develop themselves and live in a different way. But I had all these concepts, the same thing that everybody else. And they went to the same schools as anybody else. And I had to work huge full amount of hours, like everybody else. So and there's this fear and this hope that I still can do something for them, even though they are at this age. But inside of me, so I have this fear of letting go because they might need me, because I feel the guilt, yeah, the mixed feelings of not having raised them properly. Also because I always in my whole life I sensed this was not the right way. I just couldn't find the right way. And I tried so much and I didn't. So I'll have to let go.
And I invite you, Katarina, would you let that feeling, there's a feeling right now that is really alive and this is really welcomed here. We'll share from that feeling. Yeah, let's get as it is. I feel
so sad because I feel so sad because I knew things were wrong. I knew things were not the way I wanted. I knew I had some visions of what I wanted, and I couldn't go through them because of the whole environment, all these pressures, and so I didn't went on with what I felt. And I raised them as a modern culture beings, knowing from my own experience that I didn't want them to be raised like that. I didn't want myself to be raised like that. But I feel so sad that I could not find a way. And that, yeah, it's my sadness. And I cannot correct that. It cannot be corrected. It cannot be, I just have to accept that. Yeah, and I feel fear that they do not overcome the modern culture, fear that they go through it right into the middle. Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Katarina.
I feel anger. I also feel anger. I also feel anger for the society I lived in, for everything that is around us, everything that forces us, even when you can see, you have the vision, you will know what you want, and you have all these pressures around you and making you confused and to thinking that you might be wrong, that maybe it's not that, and maybe you are the one that's wrong, and putting you fear. And yeah, I'm angry about that too. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Katarina, for letting your feelings speak.
I have a question for Nicole. When you were talking about starting earlier, one thing that's been happening to me is that 3 years ago, I had this moment in my life where I had this question that something was not okay and I wanted to change. And so I started to unravel other possibilities and to remove a lot of masks from me so that I could appear more as I am. So at the same time, I always try to have this bubble for my kids where I was still the mom in the patriarchy somehow, for them to feel safe. Because I had this fear that if I presented myself as something new with new possibilities, they will feel unsafe because it's not like everybody else. And as teenagers, there is like this need to be not very different, to be in the group, to belong. And at the same time, now I feel like there is this seed also opening inside me to do something different, also with kids, also with initiation rituals, with kids in the forest, and all these things bringing. So from my point of view, this is also a graduation already. When this moment started, that I started to search for something different. And this is a graduation, and at the same time, it is a graduation of a part of being a mom, because at the same time I can be the example for them that they can also do different. So I'm still a mom or at least I'm very close to them. They are still in my house. So they can be in touch with new possibilities also for them. So it's like a graduation in the patriarchy and like a new start over with different possibilities in also myself as a woman initiated through archaearchy. And it's also, I'm bringing this, so for me, it makes sense that there was a graduation and now this is a new process. Even if it's like not when my kids are leaving home, but when I am doing this change. You know, it started with a question, but now I have my answer. But you can give me feedback, Nicole.
What I think I hear you talking about is a graduation into another kind of work. While you still have your children with you in your home, the mother graduation part, I think what you'll probably find is that while you begin this new direction of work, and then your children get to the part where they're not in the home anymore, then you'll probably launch into another level of doing that work.
Yeah.
Because in a way, what the what is mothering and what is beyond mothering, in a way, is very simple. Your children aren't with you every day anymore. And if they started to going to school when they were 3 or 5, they've already been not with you during the day a lot. So there's that part, but there's also the part where, okay, you started doing maybe a modern culture job, a job that feeds the system of systems and helps the system of systems stay in place. And it will stay in place as long as there are people feeding it and perpetuating it. The shift from going, like, working in a modern culture business to holding space for children for forest school is you're already moving your compass away from modern culture. And then when your children, who maybe are still going to school, so being part of the system, when they're on their own. And what I love about the possibility that starts to show up is that as you continue to unfold you, they see that, whether you talk about it or not. You're different. So this, I think it was probably, this part where you said you didn't want to change things for your children in case they started to feel like not so safe. I see on one side, I see the wisdom of that. Don't shake up their world unnecessarily. And also then they get to see the consequences without you didn't turn them into space holders about that. And I'm glad about that, because I know that, I, for one, and other women that I've seen often turn their children into their space holders, by really bringing all of the emotions into the relational space. And then the kids are forced to hold space for their mother. That is scary. I know, because I did that sometimes as a daughter. I first became a space holder as a daughter, not consciously, and it wasn't like I was being trained in a responsible way. My mother would blow up at me, and to survive, I held space for her. And again, I'm not saying she was bad or wrong. She was doing the best she could with what she had, with what modern culture made possible. And now I use a lot of those skills consciously that I used as a daughter unconsciously to survive. And this has been a big part of my evolution as a human woman, a being, from an unconscious space holder, holding space as a child, into holding space for children to emerge. And very much of this was, I wanted to be a different kind of mother. I wanted to be a mother who didn't shut down my children's anger, sadness, fear, joy, who held space for them to be authentically what they are. And it's possible it backfired a little bit, because my eldest son, who at home could feel all these feelings, then would be at school or with other people and couldn't. And I don't know how much that contributed to him becoming an addict. And this has been part of the pain that I've processed in healing process spaces, that's turned this shitty stuff about mothering in modern culture into gold for creating something completely different. So I'm certainly not here to tell any mother or father or child that what they did was wrong or bad, and that what I'm doing is right or better. It's not about that. It's in a whole new context where anger, sadness, fear, and joy that are emotional, that are incomplete, become fuel for healing and become fuel for accessing the anger, sadness, joy, and fear of the here and now to take radical responsibility. So go, like, this is my feedback, is you're getting new impulses that are coming through your whole system as a consequence of unfolding your being. And really, I think this is the most precious gift any mother, graduated or not, can give to her children as grown children, is the gift of getting to watch their mother's being unfold. Because then they have tips and hints about how they could do it. And Gabriella, thank you so much for letting us see the pain that you feel when you see your mother saying she has nothing else. And I have the story that any woman who is the mother of a radiant being like you must also be a radiant being. And it breaks my heart to think she's there, like, limiting herself so much. And I feel glad that you're setting the example of unfolding your being. And I think this is an incredible gift to give, and it's a little bit backwards, maybe. I don't think this was Gaia's, ultimate idea about how we would be. And my sense is, yeah, I get this sense from Gaia that she's like, yeah, this is how it goes. For now, this is how it goes. And thank you for being a pioneer, for bearing the pain of it being so wonky and so, like, messy and chaotic and sometimes backwards.
Thank you. I would love to check the time. Okay. I would love to hear more from you, Nicole, from here. And also, I know women that will watch this recording that will soon do their mother graduation, that you speak more about the process. You said that it's a process.
Yeah.
And I have the idea, or the vision that is not something that, like, when you graduate at university, or I didn't graduate at university, but I understood it was that you got a diploma, and then doesn't mean that you don't have that anymore, but you still have the job or the learnings or the identity of it, and you go to the next thing, as you said, like, now you are in the APG,
PhD.
So you keep going on the journey of being mother. For who wants to start the process, what are the hints and what are the possibilities you see as part of this non-linear process? And I know that it's not something, like, for each mother would be something, but, like, for a mother that wants to start, what is important to know that you collected from your own experience, that you experienced in that 2 years preparation?
Yeah. What I would highly recommend is starting with the website and just read it maybe 3 different times And each time, take your time, take notes, really let it in what is offered there, and start to notice what you want about your mother graduation, because this is what I love about mother graduation is modern culture doesn't even try to do it. So you get to invent it for yourself. And I asked an artist friend of mine to paint a diploma for me. And I told him what I wanted written on it, and I told him what pictures I wanted, and he painted it, and I paid him for that. I didn't finish university. I never had a thing to put on my wall until I made it myself. And I'm like, yes. Modern culture didn't pay me to be a mother, didn't thank me for being a mother, except on Mother's Day, but that's really just a capitalist ploy to have people buy cards so someone who's not a mother can make money. It's and I did this for myself. All the appreciation, all the value, I own it. And you can do this too. And how you do it, like, do it how you want to do it. This is your life. This is your time. This is your value. And wherever you go, you have this value with you. Whatever you decide to do with it, how you decide to deliver it, like, you get to choose. So, and there are some parts to it that are laid out in the Mother Graduation website that it really worked for me. I did a lot about my story as a mother. I even did a course, a 6-week course, to learn how to tell this story, to practice telling it and getting feedback and coaching, and really, how did I want to tell this story? And I got a team. Who would do some of the logistics parts for me. My friend Natu, she invited everybody. I gave her the list of people, and she wrote a letter and she showed it to me, and I said, will you change this and this and this? And she said, yes. And then she sent it. She said, come to Nicole's mother graduation. Somebody else baked a cake. The cake I wanted, they made it. And, it was so cool. It was really, when I myself was a teenager and I had modern culture dreams, my dream was to go to university and earn a doctorate and be so, so smart and so valuable because I went to university and filled my head with all kinds of things. But I didn't get to have that dream come true, but I think I got a better dream. I got a bigger, better dream come true because I created it for myself out of what Gaia and the universe gave me, which was this precious gift of being the mother to 4 radiant beings. And on my certificate, it says each of them, and I have words on there about how extraordinary each of them are. Even my drug addicted son, who at the time I didn't even know where he was. And I could still look into his being and I could say, he is so brave to go out so far into territory that hardly anyone else dare go into. And yeah, for discovering what you want and having enough anger so that you can create what you want, I highly recommend doing lots of rage clubs, 333 a few times through. Just really, like, let this be the process that grows you up even more into more of an archetypal woman. And whether your mother graduation will be, you know, in a few months or in a few years, you can be taking steps. You can be taking a next step, you know, you can be working on it. You could make a list of things you want to do that prepare you for mother graduation, and then start checking those things off, and then make a new list. Check those things off and make a new list. This is your adventure. You get to create it. You get to really use motherhood as this school, as this most exquisite, demanding, painful, joyous school. And just remember, it's, even though it's just your mother's, it's just as much for your kids as for yourselves. And they don't need to be there. They don't need to be part of it. It's like be the flower that's unfolding in the garden, and your children will get to have that. My children didn't come to my mother graduation. They didn't know about it until after, because there just wasn't, it didn't work out to talk with them about it. And I didn't, I was scared that they would say, like, what are you talking about? You can't graduate from being my mother. And so now, you know, later, I think about a year later, I let my two daughters know. I actually graduated a year ago from motherhood. I have a new job from Gaia, and you've been seeing me do it. And they're like, you're still our mother. I'm like, well, yeah, duh. It wasn't like I was like, it's not like you go to university as a social worker for 5 years, and then you graduate and you don't do social work. Like you went for that. And even if you don't do social work, you use everything you learned to do whatever you do. Maybe some things more than other things. And when it comes to, like, we have about 10 more minutes together. And what I would love would be for each of you to, like, maybe you already started, like, kind of getting a sense of what your next steps are. Would you say something, each of you, about next steps? And I'll think about that for me too.
My next step is to write my story with them, yes, and make a huge amount of EHPs that I can guess that will be there. Yes.
This is a great way to find a lot of doorways, is to write your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you.
And I would encourage you, Katarina, to create a team after, like, when you start to find the doorways, that you create a team to go with you in this journey, like a team about you. So what is the reason of the team? You. And in this team, you pick the women, you choose the women you want in your team, and you text them, you say, I'm going through a process to graduate as mother, and I want you on my team to hold space for emotional healing process, and listening spaces, and feedback, and coaching, and cry, and whatever it is that you need. and you ask, are you on my team? And you pick 5, 7, 10 women, 50,
300.
yeah, 300 if you wish, and you create a group in Telegram, and you really use that for this long or short process. I don't know how it take, but to go through that emotional. I think you froze. You come back. So to go through that emotional healing
Yes.
process and this journey, don't do that alone. Like just like, okay, texting in the EHP collaboration group. Really hire your team to go with you. I encourage you to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriela.
For me, the next steps are here in my house with my kids. And it's about bringing more of me. I'm also building my website, which is like a new way to deal with mental health. I came from neurology and I'm working now in the child psychiatry, but I have this new perspective about it, a lot about connection to nature and human beings. And so is to, as a mother, the next step is also to unfold this game world that I want to bring and somehow not hide from my kids this, to be like with this integrity on with them, all that I am discovering.
I have a little tip about that, which is to like let them be on your celebration team. And this is something I discovered, that as a mother there are so many celebrations, and I kept a lot of them to myself. And I've recently learned how to celebrate, and how to communicate my celebration to a team and have them celebrate with me. And you can even say, like, will you be on my team to help me learn how to celebrate what I'm creating a little bit more fully? And then you can say something like, you know, I've been working on this project. I didn't know how it would go, so I didn't talk about it much, but I made my website. Like I want to celebrate that I did it. Will you celebrate with me? Like maybe we could make a cake.
Yes.
And maybe they'll want to see it, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, celebrating is just as much as the sadness, fear, and anger hasn't been completed. There's a lot of joy that hasn't been completed.
Yes.
Have spaces for that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am thinking about my next step, and I think that when Gabriela mentioned the seeds that we have, and I decide that I will look for the seeds that I have, and I not only look, but I take care of them and try to and believe that it will grow and become a very, 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 very beautiful tree, or I don't know, flower. I don't know the seeds. Okay, I'm trying to, but instead of yeah, maybe a garden, a florist, I don't know. But first of all, believe that I really have a lot of seeds inside me, and then they can grow. And the only way to do this is I have to look for them and take care of them, and put water, take care of the, I don't know, tomar cuidado com o solo,
Take care of the
alimentar o
soil.
solo. Yes, and make it grow and appreciate the growing.
This is awesome. This is so great. And this really, it's so obvious to me that as mothers, you've been doing this for your children, and now you get to do it for yourself. You get to create a space where you come ever more alive.
Celia, is there anything that your feelings bring specifically that like a precise action or first step of taking care of your garden or your seeds?
Mhm. I think that the first thing is start believing in myself.
How do you do that?
Start doing it, it's, I don't know how to explain, but it's do what I have been doing, but really believing that I'm okay. I'm doing uh, very, very good. I really uh, I really know how to do it. Believing on myself, not more saying, "Oh, you're not so good. Oh, maybe you don't put the seed. You put enough water. The seed will die." Or just believing that using my feelings, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. I feel fear that became too mental or like
Yeah.
self affirmation, like okay, because what I heard so far, you didn't believe in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you doubt yourself. Then I feel fear that it's like that there's something else. And one idea or came a possible experiment, if you want to try, that is to raise a tree or a seed. Like you choose a seed and a seed of something that really it's your body choosing and can be a symbol for that process you described of taking care of your seeds. And you commit with that seed, and that seed is you, it's your seeds, and you plant it, and you discover how much water, how much sun, how the soil should be. And you do this outer inner permaculture, like outer permaculture with the seed and while you're doing inside. And you use that to be para ficar materializado na matéria.
Sim.
It's a ritual.
Perfect. Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Gabriel. Perfect. I'll do this.
I have a possibility. Can I give to you? It's to try to connect with your archetypal lineage about things that you would like to bring to the world. Are you familiar with the archetypal lineage?
Not too much. In fact, not.
Yes. So in the I feel fear to explain this here because I have this story that I don't know too much about possibility management, but it's regarding something that you have from your ancestors to bring to the world, and you can connect with this to connect with this power that comes from your lineage, that can be in different fields, like in healing. You said you were in psychology now, or making a village of people, or doing your own game world, or bringing people together, and to do this connection also with your the lineage of people that were before you. So then you can find more about your own seeds.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Sophia.
Sophia.
Sofia, desculpa, é que eu li, I read here. I'm looking for you and I read. Sorry. Sorry, Sophia. Thank you.
My next step, not as a graduating mother. I'm mother of projects, but I'm still not mother of a human being. I did again.
It's good practice to be the mother of projects before you.
Yeah, I believe so. I got a possibility while listening to you and this space to write a letter to my mother and to send her a letter with all the things I honor in her being and all the seeds I see in her. And yeah, and writing this letter as part of this ritual, this process I'm going through and sending to her to Brazil. And I would do that.
I think my next step is to declare that I'm a mother graduation cheerleader / coach and add that to my website.
Yes,
Go.
Nicole. You're a mother graduation space holder.
Cheerleader, I love that.
Yeah.
What is cheerleading in português?
É aquelas meninas que estão na claque a fazer.
Ah, team leader.
Yeah.
I got it now. Yes, this is even better than space holder.
Yeah. Celebration.
Yeah.
And a lot about celebration of mistakes or what mother culture calls
Yeah.
celebration of mistakes, like learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the harvesting of the learnings of it. This is so much gold for the future mothers and for who is already mother. And like I want to learn from you, from your mistakes, from what you learned. When I am will be a mother,
Yes.
there's so much that you already learned by doing, not by reading a degree or by studying in some place from outside. It's really raw inner research. It's like life research that you did by each day, by each morning, by each action, and there's so much gold. And I encourage you, Nicole, to share that in the village, that you are a mother graduation team leader. What is the last part you said? Say it again, the whole thing.
A mother graduation coach and cheerleader. Yeah.
Your mother graduation coach and team leader. And you announced that to the village as a service. Like yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yes.
Yes.
We are on time. We are past 5 minutes. We agreed. And I want to, I will close this space. I appreciate very much the precious and vulnerable and honest space we created here, Beyond Woman. And I want to see you in other spaces, hearing from your learnings. Thank you.
Yes, and also
Thank
I,
you.
I just want to say, feel free to reach out, Katarina, Celia, Nicole, if something, I am here. I'm on your team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you, Gabriella, for sparking this space.
See you. Bye.
Bye.